Hello everyone, welcome to part 5 of our video series. In this part we are going to give an example of how to use the data that was generated on our ESP32 and transferred over the network to our server. It was transferred in JSON format and was stored in a JSON file. So to begin with, I'm going to open an IDE. Once the IDE is open, we'll need to create a new project. And we will name it Web Project, or we will select Web Project. Default project name will be ESP32 demo, and we'll hit finish. Our next step will be to create our HTML file, and we will just use basic file. And we will name it index.html. Next. And finish. Okay, our next step is to create our JavaScript file. So we'll go through the same process. Basic file. We will name it example.js. JS is the file extension for JavaScript, so we have our file, hit next, and finish. And for our final file, we will again use the basic file option, and we will name this data.json. And click finish. Okay, so let's go to our index, and let's eliminate all of this. We're just doing a basic HTML file here. So first thing we need to do is put our doc type and language information in there. One thing about IDEs is they autofill for you, auto-generate your information, so makes it much faster. Move that down there. And put our language entry in. Next, we need the head HTML tag. And we'll put our character set UTF-8. Next, we need to install or put in our script information for Plotly and for jQuery. We'll be using both of those in this example. Jeez. And the end script tag. Next, we'll do the same thing for jQuery. Version 3.6.0. min.js, end quote, and the closed parenthesis or closed tag. All right. Now our next step will be to move down here. That'll be move that. Move down here. Type in the body. And here we'll create our div, the area where our gauge will go when we get to that point. So div ID my div equals position absolute semicolon left 0 pixels, top 20, and our closed div. And in our next line, we're going to put our script information in here. You have the option of putting the script in the body of your HTML or having this point to an external file that contains your JavaScript. I prefer the external file, so let's go ahead and do that. JavaScript, closed quote, source equals, and in this case we created example.js closed quote. And we have our end tag. And let's see, I think that's it. Let's tighten this up a little bit. And it looks like the formatting is good, or the layout's good, so let's go ahead and save this. And let's move to our example.js tab up here. And let's begin entering our information for the chart that we're going to generate. So $, this is the line that gets the file where our data, the JSON file where our data is stored. So see, and that is data.json. Function data. Yeah, this is the line that reads the data where the that accesses the data file and reads it in to the script. Make sure we have all of our semicolons and commas and everything in the right place. Okay. And we are still inside of this set of parentheses, so let's back it out to the beginning of the line. And this is where we begin creating our chart. Let's see. Bracket 0, comma 1, comma y, bracket 1, comma 0. And the value is that we're going to be using is a data.percent from the top. So that entry in the JSON file will be the one we'll be using for this chart or this gauge. And title will be, we'll call it sensor2, the same name as the well, the file that we generated from the ESP32 was named sensor2, so we'll name it that. And then we'll add a font size for formatting. I think there's a comma here, so get rid of all of those yellow error lines. There we go. So next line is type indicator. That's the type of gauge that we're going to generate. And this is being done in Plotly, so and mode will be gauge plus number. Comma. Let's see, so gauge is our next entry here. And this will begin this will be used, this part will generate the shape of and the style of the gauge. Oops. This will be the range of the gauge, so it'll display numbers from 0 to 100 when the gauge is rendered. Tick width. One. And tick color. And we'll make our tick color dark blue. And comma at the end of this. Our next entry will be bar. So the bar will show the percent. It's the percentage bar for whatever number we have in our JSON file. So bar will be royal blue. Comma, and then we'll have background color. Which will be red. All right. Our next section will be steps. We'll back this up to here. So steps are ranges on the gauge. So if you have steps, if your percentage bar, you have a threshold of 20% for your percentage bar, you can make that color blue. When it gets past 20%, say 20 to 40, you can have that space on the gauge a different color, and so on and so forth. So that's what this does. So for different criticality, green, yellow, red, whatever. So let's do this. So we have and there is a space this out a little better. So we'll have range for our first threshold, which will be 0 to 20. And our color will be comma, and for this range, and let's keep this lined up here. This one will be 20 to 40. And our color here will be here. And our third range will be $40 to $100. And the color will be actually white. And I don't know why I put white there, but and then we'll have our closed bracket with a comma. All right, now that we're done with that, we can adjust our formatting. We have a comma here, and we can bring this up to here. Let's open our space up here. Now let's go ahead and complete the last part where we're going to set up the parameters for the layout of the gauge. What it'll look like on the web page. So let's go ahead and start. Layout, and we'll set up the width and the height of the gauge. 300 for the width and 250 for the height, and margin we'll set at top 0, bottom 0. And we'll set the font size and color. Size we'll make 10. And the color we'll make blue. We put a parenthesis or a brace here to make sure that we make sure everything matches up. I think we don't need this extra brace. Blue, and we'll do paper, background color. And we'll make that 0, 0, 0, 0. We have the closed parenthesis and the quote, and the closing brace, and we will put a semicolon at the end and move on to the next line, where we will set it up to appear in the div that we created on the HTML page. So my div is the ID we gave the div on the HTML page. Data2 calls the data from above in the script. And the layout, this calls the layout that we just created in the line above. And we'll do a display logo. As false. Okay, that looks like everything is correct. Let's go ahead and save this. And move on to our data JSON file. So we're just going to enter data in here that's formatted the same way it is in our JSON file. But we're just going to, in the IDE, we're just going to make up some data just to show how it goes into the chart. So sensor 2 is the name. Percent is the data that we're going to feed into the chart, and we'll put a 71 in there just for display purposes so we can see. what it looks like. And I believe that's it. So let's go ahead and save this. We can go back over to our index HTML file. And let's go ahead and run this and see how it goes, see if we have any errors. Okay, now let's press play or run and see what we come up with. Okay, so we've successfully created a gauge that's displaying our data that we copied over from the ESP32 in the form of a JSON file, and it was successful. So this is one example of how data can be used that's generated from the ESP32, and there are many other ways to use it, but this gives a basic example of that process, and I think we're done. Let's see, I believe I'm going to make one more supplemental video for this set, for this series, and it's going to be setting up the Apache web server and then porting this over to the Apache web server. So stay tuned for that, and thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel and like my videos if they're helpful or useful, and hope to see you again. Thank you. Goodbye.